And I made sure my microphone is charged today because Thursday night came and I forgot my microphone was partially charged and it ran out halfway through. All right. So, and then I brought back up today. So, today we're going to do something similar to my 27B class. I really feel that you can benefit from learning how to set up your FTP server in Linux because, you know, it's more fun when you're using Kali. You can do this in Windows environment, but I think that for the nature of this field, you should be very comfortable using Linux because Linux tools are abundant and Kali is a really good place to start. You can also go for offensive security certification through Kali. It is a highly demanded certification if you are thinking of doing ethical hacking or pen testing cert and offensive security. That means that you're going to play red team, and red team makes really good money and gets to travel. But blue team is going to be a little bit more safe, right? That means that you're protecting network where you can hack a network for a living. So, you know, and then down the line, you can just move into executive positions. So this is why I make you feel comfortable with using Linux. And I've been told by my students that because of Linux practices in my class, they've gotten jobs and things like that. And so it's helpful to kind of learn different platform outside of Windows, but we will use Windows system. I just wanted to keep it in the series so it's more comfortable for you as you go along. So we can download Kali Linux virtual machine. So make sure you do that. That might take a little bit of time. Make sure we save when we download, right? I use Chrome and I save it as under my download here. Then you are going to extract it. Right click, show more option. And sorry, trying to look at the screen and click. And then use 7-zip to extract files. Okay. Once that's extracted, you're gonna have the unzipped or extracted folder. You're gonna open that up, open up its subfolder, click the blue file, and it's gonna load it into your player, which is here. And you can change the settings if you want, but I just simply click start because this lab is really simple, so you don't need extra processing power. And it's gonna load your Kali. Log in using KALI as username and KALI as password. So while we're doing that, let's talk about FTP server. We learned FTP is used for uploading and downloading files. It's a way for us to be able to distribute files to the public or people who are using the server. And so it's intended for a system to contain, right? To have a container where all the files go. And you can have like FTP websites. So it's linked to the certain website. Now, as we see for Linux packages, the current one that would be used for FTP is VSFTPD. And this is available for all releases, as you can see with Linux. So it would be compatible with the version that we're using today. I don't know why it's doing that, right? It's okay. Now you can also set up where it would offer a certain type of services. All you have to do is to be able to incorporate configuration files. I put a extra information in there for you, right? And so when you want to activate FTP, you would be able to do FTP localhost, right? You can check to see if it's installed. If it's installed, then it will tell you, it will bring you to the interface, the command line interface of, and it would say FTP and it has the little caret. And then when you want to get out of it, you just type bye, right? Like to exit. Okay, so I'm in now. And I'm going to try to see if FTP is, the service is available on my Kali machine. Sorry, it's a little glare and it's hard to see. So what we can do is we would expand it larger. And then let's expand this guy, right? So, but no, I wanted to be right here. Sorry. All right, we're going to do FTP localhost. So we're asking the system to see if it does have FTP, right? And it would say, it says, cannot connect to port 21, connection refused, and it's trying to do a loop back address at port 21, cannot connect, connection refused, cannot connect. So that means that we don't have the service enabled, right? So when you see that, it attempted, right? It's trying to get the services running, but it's showing you that connection failed. Now, if you do have FTP role for your system, it's going to say connected to an IP address, and it might ask you to authenticate with username. So here we want to get out of the FTP prompt. So you're going to type in bye, like goodbye, and we're back to our terminal pop-up. So that's how you can find if FTP services is running. Always start with your Linux release with an update, sudo apt update. If it's really old, you need to do an upgrade and an update and upgrade. Type in your password, KALI, as we've seen in step 3. This is going to take a few minutes for it to update all the software. And then I would suggest elevate your privilege to root or in a higher privilege to do this. Yes, you can do it with the Kali user, and then occasionally you would have to get the change the ownership and permission, and all of that's too much. So when I wrote these steps, I just wanted to consolidate and make it easy. So we can do a sudo su, and sudo su simply is a super user do super user, right? Like if I want to promote my account and elevate it to another level, which is root. We saw this last week. And when you're becoming root, you're going to see that it is in red. I don't like that it's kind of blurry. Hard to see there. It's not as okay. Now, in order to run FTP, you need to bring in the package. Question? Oh, not. Yeah, it's on the, but it's the caption. It's not showing here. Yeah, it's showing on my screen, but it's not. I don't know why the projector doesn't show it. So I have to ask IT. I show it here, so I have caption. Yeah, it's different in projection how you see the zoom bar here, right? Because you see it as a screen share and I see it as the, yeah, so you see it as what my laptop is showing. Yeah, I have it. Thank you. Okay, so are we okay with sudo su here, right? And then we are going to install. So you're going to do a few things. You're going to install VSFTPD, which is the package for FTP. You're going to enable or install the firewall for Linux. And then once you have that, then you're going to enable it. So you can copy this or you can type everything. Just make sure we type it correctly. Okay, I'm at step 5. And if you already typed the -y, it's going to proceed without having to wait for you to type in the yes. Let me see if I can show caption. There you go. Is that better? Okay. So next, we're going to, once we have everything installed and that's done, right? It's back to my pop-up. I'm going to do a system control enable. So once you have it installed, you're going to turn it on, enable it. And make sure that we read whatever that it's telling you here, right? If there's an error, you need to see why there's an error. But it would tell me that it has the service. Everything is good. Enable there, right? So I did step 6. Now, enable doesn't mean that it's ready to go. We have to start it. Okay. Some package you can just enable and it's good, but for this one, we're gonna start. And if it's not complaining, we're okay, right? We don't want, if there's error there, then just check your command that you typed. So we have the service enable for FTP, and we have the service started for FTP. And then I want to show you how you check. So my ethical hacking class, they just need to set up their server and attack it. So I cut some step, but for you guys, I wanted to make sure you know how to set up your FTP and check your status. So we're gonna do a service, VSFTPD, and we're gonna do a status. This is gonna tell you, right, what's going on with the service. So it says it's actively running, right? Like in Windows, if I click Services Console and if I check FTP, if it's running it, it's going to show it. So in Linux, you would do a service command and then whatever the service that you're running and then the status option after that, okay? And then if you want to, so it's gonna, there's more to this, it's saying that there's more, but we're interested in, right, if everything is loaded and running. Control C to get back. So here, if you want to get out of the service, you can press Control C. Oops. Okay, instead of opening an additional terminal and that is going to occupy your processes. Okay, so leave your terminal window open. You can open another terminal, right? Whenever that you open another terminal, you are going to, I'm just going to make sure that I have started my service. Okay. Whenever you open another terminal, make sure you elevate the privilege. Make sure that you see who you are, log in, right? If you're Cali, you want to be in root, okay? So if you open up another terminal here, you need to do sudo su again, right? And then I type in the password and you're back in this root. So every terminal that you open, because I have students that tells me like, why is it not here? I open up another terminal, but for a lot of the things, they did it in Kali user, not root user. So the profile saves the service that you enable. So just making sure that you, even though it's in the directory as Kali, we want to make sure that we know which user we're using, okay? So that's why I tell you right here, you can leave that one open, but when you open another terminal, you need to make sure that you are using it with the root user. Okay, I'm just going to do that as the lab says. Okay, here's my second terminal. And then I'm going to check my IP address. And we know it is 10, right? .0.2.15 as always. So type that. And this doesn't change because that's the way that they design Kali. And then when you look at the CIDR, it is the slash and the number after that. So the CIDR is /24. It's the number that's following the slash. And that tells you, which is equivalent to 255.255.255.0. Without going into subnet exercise, right? 255 is 8 bits. 255 is another 8 bits. And 255 is another 8 bits. So 8 plus 8 plus 8 is 24. Therefore, it is CIDR 24. Okay? So if it's /16, it's 255, 255, 0, 0. If it's /8, 255.000, right? Okay, so a little bit of subnet mask or the CIDR number here. Okay, then now what we're going to do is, because we enable the FTP, we're going to check it, right? FTP localhost, and guess what? It is connected, right? It tells me, it asks me for the name. Okay, you're going to type in the username anonymous. Press enter. And then the password is password. Just type, don't look at the cursor. Okay. Oh, did I not log in correctly? Let's try it again. It's either password or blank. But we're going to try password. So password didn't work. So let's see if it's blank. Before it used to be blank. I forgot to check. Anonymous. Did I type it right? Yep. Yeah, it didn't like password, or it didn't like blank either. So, but the point is our FTP works, right? We just gotta have the right user login for it. So take the screenshot. Can anonymous user log into FTP server? Yes, with the proper password. I just gotta find what that is. It used to be password. It worked for, yeah. Yeah, you can check the config, which is what we do next. And then you can type bye to get out of it. Okay. Okay, so we got that. Now we're gonna go in and play with the configuration file. Okay. So you're gonna use a text editor, and in Linux, Nano is equipped with most Debian release, or you can just install Nano. Okay. So when you type in this command or copy paste it to the terminal, you're gonna open up the configuration file. Think of Linux configuration file as the settings that you can go in and change, right? For that application or for that service. So we're gonna go through the configuration file, and we're gonna be able to change its setting. So you're gonna use the down and up arrow key, or even the right arrow key. So you're gonna use the arrow key only. It doesn't allow you to click. Okay, for step 19, in this, I'm going to use my arrow key. And anytime you see the hashtag, that means it's just comments. And so we're going to go down to anonymous account. And see how it says anonymous enabled no, right? No wonder I tried to log in and it failed, right? Voila. So we're going to change this to yes. And this teaches you how to work with configuration file. And then we're going to move down to local enable. That's already yes. So we check for step 21. Okay. We're gonna go down to anonymous upload enable. Yes, we're gonna remove the hashtag in front of it. So you're gonna go down and look for that. Anon upload enable.
The word says anonymous, enable no, and we go yes.
Yep, just follow the instruction there. So go down a few lines after the local enable. You're gonna remove the hashtag in front of that one. And then that means that now anonymous user can upload. Yes.
What's the subject matter?
I'm sorry. Oh, the CIDR, the subnet mask is the /24.
Here,
That's the CIDR. Remember, that's 24 bits for the subnet mask. Yeah. So keep going. Every step, follow the step. So upload, yes, and then go. So I took out the hashtag in front of that line. So when you uncomment it, it becomes active. We're gonna go down to anonymous make directory. A few lines down, we're gonna move back one and delete the hashtag. So now they can make a folder or the directory and save to it. And then the next step, we're gonna do write enable. So go down and find write enable. Need help or have questions? Okay, give me a second. Okay, so we're gonna look for, maybe I passed it. Right, enable and uncomment it. Okay, let me go help. What's up?
I have the internet right here, and then I have.
Yeah, so you want the actual, this one, because this is a loop back. It's always going to be the same, so it's this one.
Okay. And then for
The CIDR, which is the slash next to it, /24.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's basically 24 bits that's used for subnet mask. So the 10.0.2.15 is the IP, and then slash number next to it, that's you
take
the hashtag out. It says remove the hashtag in front of the word. Don't remove the word, but just the hashtag. Okay. All right. Any other questions? Okay, so I'm at 24. Let's look for write enable. Oh yeah. Right there. Thank you. So when you uncomment, you just remove the hashtag symbol in front of that word. So put your arrow to the right, like, you know how I uncomment? Move your cursor there and then backspace, delete that hashtag.
I'm not seeing what you're not doing.
What step are you at, Gabe? We've done this before. What step? What step are you?
This one here, I don't see.
What step are you?
21.
Okay, what's 21? It says remove the hashtag symbol in front of anon upload. So go down, don't use your mouse, but your keyboard. Go down and look for exact anon upload. It will be in blue. It should be only after a few lines after the previous one.
Should I go back up?
Up, back up. So you just did local enable, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Where's local enable? Up. There. You see a non-upload? The line right below it.
Okay.
You gotta look for it closely, okay? All right, we're good? Okay, so after we did write enable, we're gonna go down and we're gonna look for ch root local user yes. So we are gonna allow the root local user. I saw that also up at the top. Just double checking. FTP secure, synchronize. So as you can see, there are a lot of different configuration, and you can also change it by uncommenting it and also add to it, which is what we'll do next. Okay, so I found ch root local user. Okay. Ch root local user, ch root local user, yes. So we have two ch root local user, yes. So restrict local users from their home directory, explicit list of the ch root. So we select that one. Okay, then you're gonna go down to the bottom at the end of the file and we're gonna add to it. So you're gonna copy this and you can type it if you want. I just wanna be safe and copy. So right click copy and then go to the end of the file, put your cursor at the end of the file and then we're gonna paste. Okay, so we're gonna add in the token for the subtoken for the user, and then the directory for the local root. The port is going to be 40,000, 50,000. The user list enable yes. And then the file is going to be, the directory is this, and user list deny no. If the settings is not in the file, you can add it this way. So once I add everything to the bottom of my file, I'm going to press Control X on my keyboard, right? Which is the next step here. Step 26, press yes to save it as the same name. Press Y and then press enter. So Control X, then press Y and press enter. Once you modify your configuration file, let's restart it. Okay, we're gonna restart the service and we're gonna start the service. Okay, so the difference between this command and this command is you need to logically at the software level, you restart the service, but you want to do a system control, start the package, right? So it's gonna, earlier we couldn't log in, so now we're gonna try to log in again, right? Okay. Okay, so once we have that, we want to see what port is working, right? So you're going to use LSOF. So this command allows you to look at the interface, which is your Ethernet adapter on the virtual machine. And then looking at the port, we're going to filter out what's listening. So what's listening is interesting enough. We just turned on FTP, right? That's port 21. We talked about that today. And it's going to tell me here, okay? So it shows me that it is listening at port 21, TCP. And then we're going to also look at netstat, which is allowing us to look at the state of our connection.
Can't find the right enable yes.
It's up near the top. So you scroll back up or move the arrow up. So here we would see that we have port 21, right? And it's using TCP6 and it's listening, okay? So the way that you can filter out on what type of service is waiting, is listening, waiting for traffic, and at what port. So this shows you two ways that you can look at the open ports for our service that we've been using or we've been enabled, right? Which is our FTP. Okay, so put down the result that you see. Now we're gonna look at the firewall. Is it doing its job, right? We're gonna look at the status because we installed it earlier. So when you're using the UFW, that's Linux, so it's saying, oh, it's inactive. I don't have the firewall on, even if I install. So now I need to create the rules for it. I would say that I'm gonna allow 2021 port 990 or whatever port that you want your service to run on. So this is just an example that you would allow, right, FTP at 2021 and possibly another port for another service. So that's how you create rules in the Linux firewall, which is UFW. Or you would say the firewall command, allow, and the port number. And that is for TCP. Then we also want to allow the uncommon port, which is what we added to our configuration file. So I'm going to add in the 40,000 and the 50,000. And you want the rules to be added to the list. So it's going to add it to the access control list. And so now once I have all my rules, I want to show my rules by doing a status verbose. When you're using a verbose option with the status, it's going to give you all the details in text, right? Verbose just means that it's more text information. So when you do that, so we can do sudo, I should type, sudo UFW allow status verbose. And it's showing that it is still inactive. And then you have to enable it. Hold on. Let's see. Let's enable it. Okay, so the way that you can turn this on is you would do sudo UFW enable, right, to apply the rule. And then you can do the help like I did just to check. You can also reset that, change it back to default. You can reload. So once you add the rule, you can enable the rule. So I'll put that in here. Let's see. Question?
You would call this firewall, what kind of firewall is this?
It's host-based firewall. It's host-based firewall. Yeah, it's an application that you install. Similar to what you see with Windows firewall. So it does packet inspection. It's first generation. So you won't have like the advanced, additional feature, but it will do its job in blocking certain services. So Windows firewall does that too. So I added this step. You can turn it on and see, and you can disable it, right? If you look, it tells you here that you can enable or disable the firewall. So when you're done, you can just disable it, right? If you don't want it on. So now once we enable it, we can run the last command. Now that worked. I should put this before the other step. So, sorry. I'm tweaking the instruction because even after I've tested it, sometimes it's out of sequence. So we need to turn on the firewall and then we check the status. That makes more sense because now you would see all the rules that you add. If it is disabled, then you won't see anything, right? So, okay, so make sure when you get to step 32, enable your firewall and then check the status. Take a screenshot and it asks you which ports are allowed. So if we look, we allow the port number. It's listed on the left here. Port 20, 21, 990, 40,000, and 50,000. Why is it listing everything twice? Because it's IPv4 and IPv6. So it tells you also by default, it deny incoming, allow outgoing, and disable routed. So we still have some work to do with this firewall, right? We can't just say, oh, we add the rules and be done. But look at what it's saying, and the logging is on. It's still recording the activity. So, you know, and then we can also specify like from like the source IP address and so on. So it's just, I just want to show you some of the basics. All right, now we're going to add a user. So we're going to do sudo add user test FTP, right? And then the password, we can just type in Kali or some kind of easy to remember password for our test purposes. Not a good practice, right? I just type in KALI just to, and then when you get to the general information, just press enter, 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 enter until you get here and then press yes, right? We saw how we made a user account last time. So we're gonna make a test user and then we're gonna add that user account to our FTP user list or VSFTP user list by doing an echo command. Okay. And then from there, we're going to create a directory, cd home, and we're going to make a directory called test FTP. Oh. We are in home. Oh, it already exists. It created it already. So when you get here, it might reject this, so you can scrap that.
28,
I think it did that with the user account.
28 says, yeah, it's not, the command.
It's LSOF-I. Did you run one at a time? One line at a time. Okay, so when you're trying to make, if you're making a directory and if it's not allowing, it's already exists, it's fine, you can move forward. It might have created it with the user account. Okay, now we're gonna move inside that directory. So cd test FTP. And then we're gonna make another directory inside that directory called FTP. The reason why you do this for FTP server is you want to control the permission on who's accessing the files in which folder, like the download and upload. Question.
Are you actually create? I'm putting the speaking in and looking for the.
One at a time. Did you run LSOC? It should show something, so that means that you misconfigured. Did you do step 27 accordingly? You restart and start? Yeah, so, okay. You change your configuration file with everything that it says?
Yeah.
Okay, and you restarted the service? It should show something, look. So if you did this accordingly, if you it should show this line. It should show what's listing. So I would suggest repeat step 27 one at a time. You need to restart and then a start. Okay. And if it works, then it should tell you port 21 is listening and another port, or port 21 for next step. Okay. So if you're not getting any output in the step 28, you need to see if you restart it. And if you restart it and do it and it's not outputting, that means that your configuration file is not changed, or it hasn't modified correctly, hasn't been modified correctly. Any other questions? So call me over if you're still having a problem again. Okay, so we talked about how we make a directory. So I made an FTP, and then I'm going to move inside it. And then I'm going to make another directory called upload. So when you're doing an FTP server, you just got to make sure you have separate container for your upload and download files for the accounts, because that way you can control the permission for those folders. Okay. And then here, we're going to move back. And then we're going to change the permission for the folder. So, and here we change the ownership for the group, and then we're going to change the permission for the folder. And then after that, so we're here at this step now, we're going to change the permission for upload folder. So that's how you're able to control the container permission for your server, like who has access and what level of access. Now what we're going to do is we're going to make a file for it. And once it's successfully created, it's going to tell you it made the file. Now, since we already enabled that at the beginning earlier, right, to see the rule, you might not need to do this part for 20 or for 43.
What's the account password?
It's password. Are you talking about anonymous?
Yeah, on number 30,
Okay,
34.
now we're gonna see if we start the firewall. I think if you just need to enable it, so I don't think you need to start it.
Is password enabled or unchanged?
Password's Callie, yeah, just whatever password you want to use. And then we're gonna reboot. Anybody got to part D? You still, some of you are still working on, okay, so it's okay if we stop at part C. If you want to do part B, that's fine. Right? I know that we're running close on time, so 8:30, I have to let you go. 15 minutes. Yeah. I'm sorry. You can still turn it in, but I'm not going to require part D. I'll still illustrate it, so if you want to do it, you can, but we'll come back to Nmap another time. We'll use Nmap. It's a long lab. Some of you are still working on the other parts, so all right. So I'm gonna wrap up the part C, and then I will try to demo part D, and then we'll do attendance. So let's do that in the next few minutes. Yeah, password Gabe is any password you want for that account. Like,
why does it say some changes that I stay and try again?
so you have to make a password like Callie or, and confirm it. Okay, so once we reboot, we're gonna do sudo su, and then put in our password. Right? We need to be back at the root. Now let's test it, okay? So we're gonna do FTP-P, and we're gonna do 10.0.2.15. Remember this IP address? Okay. And it says, oh, we're connected. So our FTP works. The name, you're gonna do anonymous first, and then the password. Let's see if the configuration file works. Anonymous. And wait. It says permission denied, login failed. So even when you change the configuration file, what happens? Why not? Your firewall is on.
Oh.
But you, even when you allow that port and that service and the configuration for that service, you gotta check additional settings. So this tends to be a lot of specialist issue. They're like, oh, I configured the rules, but why isn't it not working? And then the client is yelling at me because it's not working. So you have to, even when you're looking for the application configuration, when you turn on the firewall and you add those rules for the service for firewall, but you need to remember. So now let's see if you can log in as your test user account. So bye. And then we're going to do FTP, right? So the account that we created was the test FTP, right? See, okay, so now it's giving us code 331. I had the same password. So the account works, but anonymous is blocked because by default, anonymous, even when we changed the configuration and saved it, it did not allow it through security reasons. But my account, test FTP, that I created and added to the user list for the application, it worked. So that means that my configuration file worked, just cannot use anonymous because for security reasons, and they designed the firewall that way. So that's a good thing because it took us a little bit to get here, actually. So that's great. Like, I'm glad to see that because when I taught this lab, like if I did it 2 years ago, oh, anonymous works and this works. So developers are listening, and it's showing that, it works regardless, and it has security. So you want to customize your user account, control your user account, because we modified the permission on how they're using the folder, right? That's the right way to do your FTP. versus just get everybody log in. Because when you use anonymous, you can be anonymous, I can be anonymous. Somebody wearing a mask can be anonymous. Haha, the joke anonymous. Right? Right? Understand? So it works. Because like I get questions like, Dr. Wynn, why doesn't it work? I changed the configuration file. Your test is boo-boo, right? It's not. It works, but you have to kind of reason and think, because in technology, even when the documentation tells you so, sometimes in application, you have to put it into the test. So that's what I recommend is for you, before you implement things in security, test it out and see. Okay. All right, so now, and then I'm gonna do attendance. So how about if we save this part, we'll come back to it in a later lab. But I encourage you, if you want to work on this, sure, fine, right? So basically it's going to, let me run one for you. Okay, this script doesn't work 100% for them. And you can find the NFC stuff with the documentation on Nmap. So when you run Nmap, let me pull this up so you can see. We just gotta make sure that we're using the switches accordingly. And when we're looking at the port, so when you're using the script engine, you just gotta put in the script name. And then, so this is gonna give you the overall compared to, like another script or a general aggressive scan. General aggressive scan is gonna give you a lot more details, but it tells me, right? I'm looking for the port, which is port 21. It tells me that. It tells me the service for that port. It does fingerprint. So whenever that you see operating system version number, that's fingerprinting, right? So because Nmap is an active scanner, okay? So you can try using Nmap, but I'm not going to require Part D because we just kind of ran out of time, but I encourage you to use it as a good practice. But if you turn in without answering for Part D. Okay, let's stop recording now. So we can do attendance.